Escape to the Metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show. Yeah. Escape to the Metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show. Yeah. Escape to the Metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show. Yeah. Escape to the Metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show. Yeah.
Yo. Hello.
Hey.
What up?
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, Josie? How are you?
Good. And sorry I haven't gotten back to your DM yet. I am.
Oh, yeah, no apologies necessary. I know. I am also in the middle of launching something and know what it's like to be just completely buried in DMs 24/7. So I get it.
I think he'll forgive me, but we could also talk about it right after this.
Yeah.
God, death to audio problems. My goodness. It's always the hardest. How have you been though, Josie? No,
Good.
That's a stupid question. Absolutely underwater.
Yeah, but
launch.
it's fun. It's such a weird, I don't even know the word feeling, because I'm so excited about all the stuff we've been building for so long and to finally show it off to everyone. At the same time, as you guys know, the market is just so weird lately. And I know there's a lot of artists that are just not feeling the vibe, even though I've actually seen some successful launches lately. The space just feels so different than it always has. And I feel like maybe I could say that every year. And so that is silly to continue to say. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited about the drop, and we could talk about this on the pod too. A day one sell, it's a huge collection and we've been building it for a couple of years. So I'm not really going to shift on that. Or I haven't shifted on that, and I'm okay with it not selling out and finding the right people when the space gets back to where even different than what it was, but gets back somewhere. And I'm okay with that. But it's interesting, sort of releasing your baby after working on it for a couple of years. Same sort of feeling, a little bit of a different feeling than Cyber Brokers, but similar for sure.
Yeah, weird is definitely the word of choice to describe everything, but it's also just weird is good. I feel like this whole space, we always love the weird, and for just the general sentiment to be like that, it's probably we can play with that and leverage that to our advantage.
Yeah,
optimistic.
Yeah.
Glass half full type take.
How about you guys?
Sentence, me talking to Josie. Does this sound all right?
Or is it me, or am I hearing that extra echo at the very end?
It definitely doesn't sound as good as your audio, and he's a bit quieter. I wonder if you guys have any post-processing where you could quiet us to make it equal.
We have that in human form. We call that software Dragonate.
Love that.
They'll be able to sort any audio issues. But yeah, whatever we can do to make that man's job easier.
I sound any different, better, worse? Check. This is me talking.
It doesn't really sound that bad to me. But I also listen to things, and Andrew's like, how could you be listening to that right now? So I don't know if I'm good,
Jeff. Matt, do I sound better or worse or about normal to you? We got to go by our standards, at least, which are probably mediocre.
Okay, there we go. This is a monumental day in the history of the Matthew and Rizzo show, because we had taken, was it 2 or 3 years hiatus in terms of having any guests join us. We've just been treating this as our own sort of weekly therapy session / market analysis chat. Yeah, we've needed this, but it's crazy that we have the legend that she is, Josie, joining us and jumping onto Mars today with us to talk about big things. I think you described it as a baby that you've been incubating, getting ready for the past few years to push out to the world. But you have a massive project, Drifters, you're about to release. We're going to get into all of that. But we were talking about before we started the pod. Oh, yeah?
Yeah, dude, I just wanted to pause you and say it's not crazy, because despite going a couple years of not having guests on, we always have the door open when it's an appropriate time for someone from the community who's got some dope shit to show off. And, Josie's been here with us since jump. So it's been a long time coming, but it feels good, man.
Also, I just want to say I'm so honored that you guys are bringing me in, especially after like I just love listening to you guys riff about everything, and it's it's just it's so enjoyable to hear you guys chat. And I will say it's such a perfect show to be talking with you guys about everything because I still have such a core memory of like all of us back in crypto voxels where honestly like drifters is a bit of a love letter to that era and to crypto voxels anyways, and we'll get into that. But like being in crypto voxels, like I don't remember if I was building or like looking around to do something that day. I don't remember what I was doing, but I just like randomly happened upon the whip meetup that you guys had in there, and I think it was only like maybe one of the first ones, and you're like, yeah, come over, you can like tell us about what you're doing. And I was like, oh, okay, let's do it. And like seeing all of these, obviously like the crypto voxels avatars with our jank really amazing avatars dressed as whatever we could dress them as, but like I feel like this is such a perfect platform with you guys and the magic that you guys made in crypto voxels too. And like I said, drifters being an homage to that era. And I'm excited to chat with you guys about it.
That was a beautiful like trip down memory lane. Going back to the past real quick before we blast into the future, talking about the newness with drifters. I don't know what it is. There's something in the air. There's multiple people. You brought up crypto voxels. I was having a chat, like a deep dive with Roger Dickerman, just going back into like the origin city era of crypto voxels and the magic that was present then that touched so many of us and inspired so much of like the early movement in particular.
Yeah.
Saw Brinkman bringing it up again the other day. It was really a special time, a really special place, still is for that matter, but that particular period for sure. But using that as that sort of point of departure, you have so much going into drifters. I'm super curious to hear you sort of like set the stage of like where the concept, where the project idea came from, and just set it up for us. Because I know for the past n number of years, cyber brokers has been the main focus. So I'm super curious how drifters kind of got its start.
Yeah, so it's actually a bit of coming from the story of the original story that we wrote around cyber brokers and what I was just saying, being so inspired and in love and sort of like my entry into basically anything besides like crypto art and Bitcoin art was through crypto voxels and sort of seeing this other side of Ethereum and NFTs. Um, all of that sort of like culminated to be drifters. So drifters, if you guys have been following cyber brokers, you'll know this. And if not, um, totally fine. And you can know now, but we started writing a story and we have like 26 chapters of our story within the cyberbroker universe. And from the very first chapter, which I think we released in October of 2021, and then we finally launched cyberbrokers in March of 2022. But our main character was a drifter, and in the world that cyberbrokers live in, cyberbrokers were the 10,001 souls that populated the paradigm product, which eventually became paradigm lost when things went wrong, in a government effort to sort of save humanity because Earth went totally to shit and ice age and froze over. So these cyber brokers that were populating TPL is what we call it for short, live 24/7 inside of this metaverse and have different jobs and things to do within TPL. But drifters were the humans back on Earth that are living in these bunkers underground or above ground, but like fully cement block bunkers and scraping snow off of solar panels and that sort of thing. So drifters were always planned into the story, and we always knew we were going to create drifters, and drifter was always meant to be a collection that could be accessible, grow with the space, be different than cyber brokers. Cyber brokers were meant as an archive. And as you guys know, they're permanently uploaded to the Ethereum blockchain forever. And drifters were meant to be the canvas that can like change as the space grows. And we can have different types of drops with different collaborators, all of that sort of thing. So we're finally at the point where drifters are ready, and the shape that they've taken for us are really high fidelity 3D assets that are just so cool and so amazing. And we've done so much work to like every asset's hand painted. We were able to translate our cyberbroker style, but into 3D, which was a really big challenge at the start, but I think turned out really well. And also we just built this platform to continue to do things after this initial launch. So yeah, that's just sort of where drifters were initially inspired from. Both within the cyberbrokers world and sort of just my own history of what was magic in the space before I created cyberbrokers.
So Josie, I'm thinking about the way you've like approached like your projects in general, which is like leaning really hard into the storytelling aspect, which I feel like is very much overlooked by a lot of other projects and everything. And obviously, this weaves into the larger story that you've created and everything. But I guess I'm gonna make this like super dumb for people who haven't like experienced any of your work or projects or anything. So I'm like, you got a cyberbroker back then. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's things you can do with it. You can customize it in like different ways, and it's like incorporated into this game. And so I'm saying that to say, you get a cyberbroker. There's like a lot of shit you can do with it. Is drifters like similar to that in the sense that it's getting rolled into that like larger ecosystem and you got some interactivity and things to do with them? Or would you categorize it more as like an art piece, or like, a lot of your stuff sort of like straddles multiple categories here. So where would you place drifters?
Yeah, thank you. So like I think that it's funny because it's always tough, like, as artists, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way in a lot of stuff you do. You always wanna, like, one up the last thing you did. Like, you wanna, like, impress yourself with stuff that you do and just make things more challenging, which is a blessing and a curse. Cyberbrokers was very much like I said, meant to be this, like, permanent archive fixture on the blockchain, and we created the art to work, like, we created the art for the code, if that makes sense, like, for that medium. And drifters, and we created the world around that. Like, it started with the art and then we created the world, and drifters definitely fit into this world. But what I will say about cyberbrokers is that cyberbrokers, you like you don't have to collect because you want to be a part of like the community and ecosystem and take advantage of the game we built or the mech claimables or like all of these things that are amazing and so fun, but you can just purely collect because you want a piece of art that will live forever on the blockchain. And I think it's an interesting balance of like trying to make sure collectors feel like they're collecting something extremely high quality and will outlive all of us. But then also people who do want to engage with your community and giving them something that's a bit wider that they can participate in. So I think it's the same for drifters, where people who do just want to be collectors and just collect beautiful art. And like, I know it's weird to call a 3D avatar art, but I think once you guys see it, you'll know a bit of what I mean. And especially with the artists we're collaborating, like, it is very much a canvas for like expression and art and what is in your collection. But we do want people to just be able to collect for art. But if there are people who want to bring these into spaces like Hyperfi and Nifty Island, or all these metaverses that allow avatar integration, VR chat, like all of that is available. We've also created the avatars not just in low poly VRMs, which are like obviously the most interoperable with the most places. We've also created were like really high quality, high poly versions that people can use in close-up renders and animations. And I'm sure, with mechs, we saw people 3D printing mechs. So I think there's a space for everyone to be creative. And with the future and like long-term vision for drifters, besides new gears, new drops, new collaborations, we also want to start creating 3D spaces and worlds for people to collect as well. So I think there's definitely room to become like more of a collector and more immersed within the world that we're building. But I do think if you just purely want to collect a piece of art, you can easily do that within drifters. And if you do want to like participate in the wider universe that is cyber brokers, you can easily do that. And we actually have some people in our Discord that don't even own cyber brokers and just like to play around with different things, or even play around with our pixel brokers, or, anything like that. So it's quite fun to have a community that is just really creative and kind of into the same core values that I think you guys are, and that I am, from where this whole space started.
I always loved and appreciated the fact that cyber brokers at root were simply forever art. On top of that, you created, built, have extended just an epic kind of universe for that whole evolving narrative and story and the participants, for folks to get as deep as they want, but still, like, for everyone else and for the purposes of cyber brokers, that fully on-chain forever art. I always love that kind of pick your own sort of path and how you want to interact and participate in that. And with drifters, the part that really stuck out to me in terms of like the elevator pitch, if you will, like going back to some earlier tweets, kind of previewing what's to come, the handcrafted, customizable 3D parts, like boom, signature Josie. But then the evolving canvas, the fully updatable aspect, I'm like, oh my goodness, like what the hell is coming? And then yesterday, I just saw the list of collaborators and like friends like Joy and Brian, and then X copies in there, Bananakin, like Oshinachi, Rare Skrilla. Like, what the hell is coming, Josie? Like, how is that going to work? Like, explain, unpack a lot more, because like we have this concept like gear and things like that. So I'm just so excited.
I'm so incredibly honored that these artists were like willing to, when we reached out to them, like the space was even weirder than it is today. And we were like, we want to do this. We would love to have you. And there are different ways that we can do it. Like you could, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but I'll just finish this statement and then go backwards a little bit. But we were like, we want your style, your mark within drifters. And this is just a start. We want to do bigger collaborations with these artists, but we wanted them to do like a full drip outfit that really felt like them. And we gave a bit of variety of like, hey, we know everyone is busy and we are so inspired by and love your work. So we can do this a few ways where like, allow us to take your work and really sketch a few options out, see what you're vibing with, and we'll go in that direction, and really bring your style to life that you've created. Because like some of these artists have never created, obviously someone like Joy has done a lot of character work and clothing for his characters, but someone like Dutch Tide does scenes, right? Like he does these environmental scenes that are so, so beautiful with Midnight Breeze, and doesn't do as much clothing and things like that. So we wanted to make it really easy for any artist to join us and really see if they were okay for us to be inspired by their work, or they could straight up sketch something and we would translate it and make it merge our style into theirs and bring it to life. So it was really cool working with all the artists, and they all had a different approach on how they wanted to take that prompt and that style into their own hands. And we went through some iterations and landed on pure magic with all of them. But to back up just a little bit and talk about like how all of this is going to work and what the platform is, we have drifters. Drifters are like, I guess the recipe for drifters is that you have a bio canvas, which is just like a naked, undressed, no, like it's just a bare avatar, a bare body. But then you bring your bio canvas and you add all of your traits and gears to it to create your drifter. And creating your drifter doesn't mean just changing your facial features, changing your hair, changing your skin color, or even specialty skins that are really rare, your outfits, which by the way, some of them have like color decks options. So you can pick, some of them are just like in their full glory, what we've created. You can't do modifications on it, but then some of them you can modify with colors that you have in your color decks. So you can like do even further customization. But even after that, we've gone the extra step and we love, you'll know from cyber brokers or mechs, like we love NFTs that have names. Like we're not going to just do a token ID. Like for us, like the name brings it to life. So we've gone even deeper this time where instead of just creating a random name from names that we've put sort of into a data set, you can go that route, which is like your government name, and you can hit reroll literally a million times and get a new name every like combination every time and find one that you land on for free and get it. Or you can pay to customize your name and get something perfectly custom to what you want. And then after that, there's even more customization because then you get to pick like the background of your NFT and the theme and like plate of it, which comes with its unique font, its own unique lighting. You get to pick your pose for your avatar. So like we have like really cool poses, like them giving you like a middle finger, which like the middle finger is super like uh focused on the camera, and then the background's a little bit blurry. We have very cool poses. But anyways, you get to pick your pose and your attitude that you want for your avatar. You get to pick what the color scheme of the whole background like theme that you've selected is, and then you go to Mint and you get your 3D files, but then you also get this really high quality render of your final NFT image. And then you can do it all again as many times as you want. As we drop new collections, you get a new, we do a collaboration with the Whip Meetup, and the Whip Meetup launches this like really sick hat, and I want to rep it. You go back in, you edit your drifter, you add the hat, change the pose if you want, change the name if you want, do whatever you want. You click save again and it updates. So there's this incredible platform that we've built where as the space evolves, as new drops happen, as we launch more things, you can go in and update your canvas. And eventually, long term, we really are excited about user generated content and community owned shops to be able to even sell their own things. But for now, it's really developing as this first launch, we're launching a ton of our own assets that we've dreamt up and created. And then we have these collaborations with the artists. And then as we go, we are doing a lot more heavy on collaborations with wider communities and artists in the space. And then eventually that'll turn into UGC. I know that was a lot and I was totally long-winded there, but I hope I gave a little bit of a sort of rundown of how it's all going to work.
No, honestly, it was great, and it actually like brings me to my next question. So I'm like, okay, let's like play the thought experiment, right? The collection does great. Everyone gets their drifters, and they're doing exactly what you said. They're customizing them. They're adding their own names. Like everyone's got like their unique thing that looks like exactly how they want it. They bring it to the whip. They flex it in front of everybody. Everyone thinks it's awesome. And then you got people with these drifters in their hands. They're excited about them. They've customized them. They've shown them off. What are you hoping is like the next step? Like especially for like new people who are like coming in and these are like the first time that they're getting an NFT of yours. Like what's like the lowest? And maybe this isn't quite the right question, but like what's the lowest point of entry to the cyber brokers ecosystem from someone who just comes in and gets a drifter and now wants to do the next easiest thing to do with it, or maybe you're hoping people will do something completely different with them, but I'm just curious, like you got all this awesome customization, you put them in people's hands, they flex them, but I know you've always got like more things going on. So yeah, what are you hoping is the next step?
Yeah, I think again, it's about the path that people want to take. Like we're setting up the rails and different paths. We have we've not taken so like the approach of like just create stuff, put it in their hands, and let the community like see what they'll do with it. I think there's actually a few people have done that well, and the ones who have done it well, it's great. But I do think there is something to say about a community that continues to build things for their community and see how they want to express themselves, but also be able to pivot if something is not necessarily working. Within Cyberbrokers, we invested almost everything back into Cyberbrokers to build our next thing, to build drifters, to build the game we started building, to build mechs. Like, we really want to create an IP that is really powerful, which also we can talk about that too. But a lot of our, Cyberbrokers and drifters as well, with some limitations a little bit because of the collaborations, but these have IP rights, and they have commercialization rights where you can make money on your cyber brokers or your drifters and create brands around them. And a few people have already started doing that, which is really amazing. And we hope people will do that with drifters. But I think it's a little bit about the path you want to take. Do you want to create episodes? If you are an animator or gamer, go for it. If as new games pop up that allow other avatars to play in within their games, like, we will be there and be talking with them on how to integrate so they can play across the metaverse anywhere they want to play. For us internally, what we're going to be building long term, like I talked about, is really more collaborations, new gear drops, of course, but definitely deeper world building. We want people to be able to not just customize their avatar, but also customize their space and be able to not just have to buy into everything, but also be able to claim things if they do want to be active participants within our community, and they do want to show up at different things, and they can earn trophies or art for their walls or whatever it may be to customize spaces and have digital real estate and all of those sorts of things. That's definitely long-term vision. Right now, drifters are made to be extremely interoperable, that people can take them where they want. And really, I do think there is something to say about people just wanting drifters and the gear as collectibles, wanting to collect the full Brian Brinkman outfit or the full Coley outfit, or maybe one from each of these artists, and totally deck themselves out in, each of the artist collabs as a full avatar. So I think the answer is a lot of things, because we're hoping to build the rails and the paths that anyone, or at least support other people that are building things that we, haven't yet, but to build our own rails and paths as well for people to go down the venture that they want to go down.
So with drifters as these 3D customizable avatars, like, to your point, there may be individuals that just purely collect to collect. And it's sort of like a 3D digital, like, cause sort of statue that they can
And
deck out and
also,
customize.
sorry to interrupt
Mhm.
you. And also, with that, collecting to collect and showing them off, we also are
Mhm.
getting back to physical prints as well. So I think that will also be very fun to do. We're going to have a setup in our system that we're working on where you can deck out 10 amazing drifters in all crazy different styles, pose them differently, and we'll print a big poster for you through one of our shops that we're building. But other ways to also show them off in print as well, since I think people are kind of getting back to that. But go ahead, sorry.
I mean, amazing detail. And yes, that's sort of been one of the areas that I always look for artists when they're purely digital. I love the experimentation, the crossover to physical. It creates more conversations. It helps kind of let people realize it's not like an either or type situation. It's like we're creating art and making the digital more beautiful as well as the IRL. So I love that detail. Thank you for flagging that. But with these 3D customizable avatars, for folks that want to go one step further, this is obviously a metaverse play, right? You mentioned that folks will be able to update and take these into the burgeoning worlds that are emerging on the virtual digital side with Hyperfi, Nifty Island, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe just if there are more 3D virtual environments that you see or have plans, or these will be out of the box, work within, would love to hear that list. But also would love after that to hear your take on sort of the state of the metaverse. I know the scene setting, the narrative around drifters is that they're in this like post-apocalyptic uh, world, right? That they're trying to like crawl their way out of, like scrape the snow off the solar panels. It's very powerful visual imagery, but also sort of reminds me of like where the quote unquote metaverse is today in our space. We started talking about cryptovoxels, and there's a lot of projects around now, some more alive than others, but it is actually a shell of where it was and where we thought it was going to be kind of frank and blunt. So anyway, we'd love to hear all of that. So where are drifters going to work out the box, one, and then what's your take on the current state of the metaverse?
Yeah, so out the box, drifters, we also have this with mechs too. So like huge robotic mechs, which are very cool. But drifters will work in Monaverse, in Nifty Island, in Hyperfi, in VR chat. Those have been tested and work out the box. There are some with a little bit more limitations where drifters will work like on Cyber, which has a much smaller triangle count, but your drifter cannot be as decked out as it could be in some of these worlds. So on our system, when you're building a drifter, you sort of get like a grade of like how many triangle counts and everything. We break it down to be a little bit more non-technical friendly, but you get a grade basically that if you've created a drifter that's super heavy and has a million things, because we didn't want to put limitations on people where, oh, you can only dress your avatar with up to 6 items. So we're like, no, deck out, do whatever you want for your NFT image or your PFP or the print that you want to make. But just know that if you want to use some of these with worlds with extremely limited triangle counts, like something like on Cyber, you will have to put some limitations on yourself when you're creating for that specific avatar that you want to use in that world. But yeah, with the other ones, they have no problems working in any of those, which is really exciting. With the metaverse as a whole, I am totally agree with you. I think a lot of us thought we would be a lot further than we are right now. I think the metaverse is interesting because I don't think it's going away. I think it's still going to be massive. I have a lot of just, obviously I wouldn't be creating drifters if I wasn't bullish on the metaverse, but I do think it might look a little bit different than how we always imagined it. I think with a lot of the AI tools that are coming out, I think with having our own selves as sort of these like now without mocap suits because you can use AI for it, but with our own movement and our avatar sort of like dubbing on top of us, is, to me, that's an extension of the metaverse, like being this identity that you are not really, but that you're dressing as to be whoever you want to be that day. Like that is very metaverse central. So I think things like that are an extension of metaverse that drifters will be able to do. I also think that the metaverse as a whole, with AI tools, with social media and the way things are going, is just looking a little different than just purely digital real estate that we're meeting up in. I think it's influencers that are fully AI and dressed as either a real human or an avatar, or even musicians that are either AI or inspired by a musician that wants to be in a different form. I think there's so many creative things to me that check the box of metaverse without necessarily being in a virtual room. Do you get what I mean by that?
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting to see how it continues to evolve. And I think to your point, AI is going to power whatever this next instantiation of the quote unquote metaverse is. You're already starting to see glimmers of it, especially like in Hyperfi, I would say. Like we're starting to, it's still very early, still very nascent. But the experimentation is there. The ingredients, I guess you can say, are getting staged, but we've yet to see them put together in a way that like really kind of brings everything together for a more casual or like less informed group of folks. But it does seem like Drifters is probably the most highly produced attempt at putting together something like that, at least from like the early read, pre-release, everything that you've been saying so far.
Yeah, we
You know,
definitely did a lot of work to try to make these accessible. That means a lot of different things for different people, and so gear itself, and we're releasing a whole newsletter that'll probably be out by the time this goes out. But the collection, this first initial collection, is 7,777. There's 3 different sizes within that collection of like a starter pack, an expansion pack, which has the most items inside of the pack, and then a collector's pack, which has a little bit less items than the expansion, but is guaranteed a few more rare items. So we have different price points that people can get into the collection at. But even moving forward, we plan to do like at the start, if you don't want to buy into any of the boxes and you want to be a part of the Drifter universe, a bio canvas just to buy like a naked body, I think is around like, I have to do the conversion, but somewhere between $7 or $8. And the claimables on day one, you can claim. We have a tribute to A Lot of Money, which is a full outfit. It's a really cool outfit. You can claim that for free. Everyone can claim that, and you can be dressed as a lot of money avatar for $8 in what any of these metaverses, right? So there's a range of accessibility here, and then obviously some of the packs that have more rare items in them do charge more of a premium, but we want a range where it feels really easy for people to be a part of. And that is one of the reasons why we built on Base a layer 2, because it is so expensive to transact on Ethereum. As you guys know, we spent almost 100 ETH uploading cyber brokers on chain when ETH was more expensive than it is today. And Drifters, we want people to be able to change constantly. So we built on a layer 2. And we built on Base so that it only costs a penny to change your drifter constantly. It only costs a penny to trade your jacket with someone else's jacket because you got 2 of your kind and you want to swap with something else. So we're hoping that this is not only more accessible in the way of some of the lower price point entries that you can get in at, but also in the way of transacting on a layer 2 that makes it really fast and really cheap.
Josie, I got a broad scope question that sort of ties a lot of what we've been talking about together, because I lump you into this category that is somewhat of a dying breed in terms of just being an independent creator out here from the beginning, who has pretty much stayed that. I mean, not pretty much. You stayed the course like the entire time, and I also consider you one of the independent creators out here who's probably put out the most ambitious projects. And I'm trying not to speak in absolutes, because a lot of us out here have done ambitious things, but everything you put out is extremely ambitious, very intentioned in terms of what you're hoping for with the outcomes. And you've done this consistently over several years now. So I was saying this to Matt like a couple weeks ago. In the beginning, it was just we were sort of all on the same playing field, but now we all got some resumes to lean on and to point back towards and everything. So I'm saying all that to say, like, I'm really interested, selfishly, also in hearing just your take on what it's been like being out here independent, and just sort of lessons learned about pushing some of these massive projects into orbit, because it's really something that not a lot of experience and not a lot of people have experience in doing on their own. Most of the big operations you see coming out of like platforms, companies, more organized. I'm sorry to say more organized. I didn't mean to say it like that, but
No, I know
I think
exactly
of
what you
you
mean.
as an independent person, right? And you're organizing this rather than a conglomerate organizing this. So yeah, would just love to hear your take on just lessons learned over the years doing a bunch of big shit out here.
Well, first of all, thank you, because it is also like, um, I'm just making it up as I go and trying to do the best decision for the community, for myself, for every single collector. Like, I think of every decision as, would I make this decision 10 or 50 years from now if I was, going to make it then? Because I really do try my honest best to do what I feel like is right, is fun, is badass, is just all of those things. And I think from the beginning, I even did that when um this is, by the way, no shade to any of the marketplaces, because the super rare and all those early marketplaces made this space what it is. But even back then, when I decided to not go on any marketplace, because to me it wasn't the ethos of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general, trying to decentralize all these like third parties, and I created my own contract and sold on OpenSea. And for what, like, a lot of the collectors that all flocked to those platforms and did it a different way and just sent out newsletters and tried to do reserves and tried to sell things for, I thought, were lower than what they might sell on resale for market, because I wanted people to feel good about the purchase. Like, there are so many things from the beginning that I tried to do um, with a long-term vision in mind. And I really like, still, that it weighs heavy on me, every decision we make, everything we launch, because it is something that I'm so serious about. Like, if we do launch something, if base goes down or Ethereum, got pruned, or like if anything happened where it affected any of our assets, to me, it is the responsibility for myself to do everything I possibly can to repair that and fix that for collectors. And that's why we created Cyberworkers on Chain. Like, that's why we make a lot of decisions we do. So I think number one, I think that's a bit of why we have such an amazing community within Cyberbrokers and just my own personal art collectors as a whole, is because I think a lot of collectors are on that same wavelength and feel like it's a person that they like can know and can understand their intentions and see the path that they've walked so far, versus, like you were saying, a big company who's VC backed, who has like you know, a bottom line to meet no matter what. Like, and that doesn't mean that there are things that I can do that won't fail. Like, that's definitely a big fear and just a big burden, because it is the people who are collecting my work, or cyber brokers or drifters. Like, I take that to heart, and I'm so thankful for those people being interested in what we're building. But also, it's a serious commitment for someone to be able to spend their hard-earned dollars on this, right? And it's something I don't take lightly. So I do think it's a double-edged sword of like, it makes me so happy and so honored, but it also is a burden that is definitely doesn't come without its stressors. But like I said, all I can do is try to make the best decision. And as of like launching something big, I am so lucky to have the most incredible team where I can bounce ideas off of and we can come together. Like, I really always do want the best idea to win, not my idea to win. So like, I am so lucky to have the people around me that we can play with different ideas and come up with what we think is the best from all different perspectives, from the technical perspective, from, just the community, like the art, everything. So I think that's a huge piece that I definitely won't minimize at all, because I couldn't do any of this without the team that we're working with, and even the contractors they're working with, the artists we're working with. None of it could be done without them. So kind of just having a vision, telling people the vision, and if they agree, us all getting together and working on it. Sorry, I know all my answers are so wordy, but I'm like, I love the questions you guys
It's
ask.
good.
I don't get to talk about it a lot because we're just like in our own little bubble on Slack working constantly. So yeah, thanks for listening to the rambles.
No, it's good.
We,
It's
we,
good
we
stuff.
love the rambles. Could you shout out more of the team? One of the things I've
Yeah.
admired about you especially from cyber brokers, is the absolute squad. And actually, this goes back to you as an independent artist, the collectors. Like in a very real sense, early collectors are sort of like that mini squad-esque organization around an artist, helping to power for their future work. But with cyber brokers, you had a squad. With drifters, obviously, you still have probably a large part of that original squad with you, but shout those folks out, what they were doing, what they contributed. Let people understand the team you've assembled around you.
So much. So, the original creators of Cyberbrokers, myself, Ben, Cybourgeoisie, who is so amazing. I met him back in 2018 when he was doing blockade games in Neon District and trying to create these really beautiful games with his team that he was a co-founder for. And we got together. We stayed friends and got together to do Cyberbrokers together. So he's like the technical genius behind all of the compressors and decompressors and like all of these things that we did to be able to fit Cyberbrokers on chain. Like really some of the most robust art stored there still years later. So Cybourgeoisie Ben, he is still our CTO and killing it day by day. And then Chris, which helped us with all the rarities and the story of Cyberbrokers. He's gone on to do many, many things, but still is one of, our advisors and contractors that he's helped us with the rarities for, and just like the kind of the launch plan of like what should be in each pack, how the pack should work, helped us totally, architect that. And then a huge piece of the puzzle for Cyberbrokers and drifters, like my other half, Azamat, who is an artist, an incredible artist, who helped me create the entire Cyberbrokers collection and also has helped hand paint hundreds of assets for drifters, hundreds. And then new additions to the team, Benji, who actually was over at CryptoVoxels, and when he left CryptoVoxels, he joined our team, and so he, we hadn't dealt in 3D avatars before we made mechs, so he's a huge just source of knowledge and just developer who is helping us bring all of that to life and has taught me so much about VRMs and just everything that we need to do to make a 3D asset work, because there are so many steps that I never realized went into optimizing and porting and all of these things within a 3D asset. But Benji, and then we have Vinny, who does all of our front end. And we have like, I will brag a little bit about this. Like our websites are really beautiful and we work really hard on creating very cool experiences on obviously our Cyberbrokers website, our mech website, and Drifter's website is going to be very cool. So he's worked like extremely hard on the front end for everything. And then the other like big piece where this all comes in is like two things. Brooke, who's our like operation COO is technically what she is, but she does so much more than that. She's like, anything I throw at her, she can take. I'm like, I'm slammed with XYZ. Can you review all the Trello and look at all of the art we put and put really detailed feedback to make sure that everything is on track? Can you go find someone who can help us with an animation for a trailer? Can you do the taxes? Can you do the legal forms? Can you do the, terms of service? Like really like pay the bills, like everything that we need to be done. She can like do it all, which is just a lifesaver. And then last, I know I'm going on, sorry, it's just important because all these people are amazing. The last folks I'll mention is Front Future, which is a really incredible team that we've worked with for all of Drifters. It's actually one of the co-founders of the previous company we worked with for Mechs. That company, they went their separate ways, and one of the co-founders we connected with again. And he has been able to find a team of like dozens of artists dozens of artists in Brazil and in other places that have helped us build out each step of the pipeline. So 3D modeling, texturing, rigging, all of those things. There are so many people behind that. And he was the first person that I've worked with. We actually tried creating, we've been working on Drifters for a long time and tried working with quite a few different 3D artists and could never, the style wasn't translating. As many drafts and sketches and details that we made, the style was never translating. And he's the first, him and Jonas, they're a duo. They're the first team that has been able to really help us bring our style to life and just like hit a home run with everything. So that is everyone. It's a lot. And like I said, we are, we don't have investors and VC money. Like this is all stuff that we've poured years into for salaries for the team, paying contractors. We've poured years of funds that we've made from cyber brokers, like everything we put back into this and into the project. So it's been a labor of love for sure. And all of those people have been a part of making it happen.
Yeah,
Yo,
I just want to flag
go ahead.
quick shout outs and like just an important point to focus on. The fact that so many of those folks have stuck with you, wanted to work with you, you've kept in the fold for years and years. It is such a testament to you as a leader, as a force. It's so hard to just get one kind of believer in what you're doing for anything in life, let alone like multiple handfuls like you've had throughout the years for your projects, Josie. Just hats off to you for that, number one. And then two personal just shout outs from that epic list of folks that you've been working with and collaborating with on your team. Ben, Cyborg Bourgeoisie, to your point, an absolute force. One of the funniest stories I've ever had. Like I've literally walked in that man's pants. Going back to 2021 Basel down in Miami. We're a crazy time, but we're all trying to go to some sort of club or party. I had shorts. I didn't bring pants to Miami, and couldn't get into the club. And Ben was just like, "Yo, I got some pants, dude." So he gave me his pants, and it was just like this whole thing. Anyway, it was just hilarious.
My God. I love that. Which, by the way, I don't know if I've ever even told Ben this, but that's so funny because I think Andrew one day when we were all in for something asked him if he could borrow was like, oh, I don't have sunglasses. And Ben was like, oh, I've got a pair, and gave him a pair of sunglasses that Andrew still has in our car. Like 5 years later, I'm like, are you ever going to tell Ben you took those? I was like, I don't know if he knows. And I just didn't know for so long that now it's weird to tell him. So I love that Ben is just out there like dressing the world. That's amazing.
I feel left out. Where's my secondhand Ben garment?
Yeah, seriously. Me too. But the question is how did you arrange? Did you give his pants back? You just take them off after the club and put your shorts back on?
Yeah. We made an epic trek from the club to his hotel. I got the pants, went to the club, and then somehow in the middle of the club, I took the jeans off, which I had my shorts on underneath, and I gave back to Ben. Like he got his pants back, unlike Andrew, who still has the sunglasses.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Ben's epic. And then Brooke, oh my God. Like if people don't know, Brooke is such a powerhouse. She's like,
oh my God. And I know you know her personally, which is why I'm excited to know what you're going to say. But like, she's crazy. She's like a stealth little badass.
Yeah, shut up, Brooke.
Yeah. Super stealth, badass, and just hilarious. So many great memories with Brooke working together over the years, but probably far and away the best time was down in Mexico City when she was working together with Tubador and the whole Metaverse crew, or Metaverse crew, Metacovenant folks. There's a nice long week down there where a whole bunch of great human beings got together, and I've never laughed as much in the course of a week as I did together with Brooke and crew, like multiple times, crying, laughing, all happy, good stuff. But just like an all-time memory.
By the way, you know that Brooke and I go way back. Like we used to work at a blockchain company together. Like when I was trying to sling crypto art and trying to go to all these conferences, I freelanced for this company that she was like a marketing assistant or something at. And I was like, and I am a person, and there's many layers to why this is a thing, but I definitely have more online friends than I do in real life. Like, I don't have very many in real life friends, and it's kind of how I like it. Like, I don't have a social media with personal life info. Like, I keep pretty private. And weirdly, I was like, I like this girl and I want to be friends with her, which never happens to me. And she was totally like, why does this girl want to be friends with me? This is weird. And like was sketched out by me being nice to her. And I was like, okay, I don't do this often. Like you need to take my olive branch and be friends with me. And we like stuck together ever since. And I dragged her into NFTs with me, but we go way back, so it's really fun to like work together again and do something very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. You got a lot of people, like Matt was saying, who've been around you for a long time, but also been around this space for a long time, and that experience, doesn't experience counts for a lot. Josie, really appreciate you hopping on, and honestly, we've done this a few times over the years, and I feel like every single time I'm like, dude, it's just really nice to have a builder on here who's like genuinely passionate about what they're building. I strongly identify with what you're saying about like, feeling an obligation to the people who are like, purchasing your projects and, how your projects, go afterwards and everything. You're obviously heavily invested in everything that you've done out here. And it's, over the years, that's become like more few and far between. And it's just fucking nice to touch base with people like that. Josie, I want to make sure like we get the actual like hard details into the podcast too, or at least as much as you can reveal. If there's any like dates, links, things that people should be setting notifications on, like make sure everybody knows what to do from here.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for that. I love chatting with you guys. Like it honestly feels more like catching up than a podcast, and I appreciate it. And I've never
This isn't a real podcast.
Yeah. No, it is, but I never ever listen to anything back because I cringe so hard even at the thought of hearing my own voice, and I'm not going to listen back to this. Like I don't listen back to anything, but I appreciate you guys because this just felt so great to chat with you. And thank you. But drop details, the packs go on sale on May 14th on Base. We are actually releasing a newsletter today with all the details and a guide that we made for people who have never purchased anything on Base yet, who have never used an L2. So it's some easy written out guide and then a video guide of how to either buy Ethereum on the Base network or how to transfer your Ethereum to the Base network with a bridge. So we have all that info coming out, but the sale is on May 14th, which is right around the corner. And then on May 14th, we'll announce the reveal date when you can actually open all of your boxes and get inside of the Genome Ward, which is where you everything. And on reveal day, we have free claims for people who are cyber brokers. We have free claims for punk holders, doodle holders, crypto kitty holders, pudgy penguin holders, just as like a fun little like one-off claimable that kind of represents their communities. For mech holders and for the version beta players, which were some Discord really fun games that we played a while ago. And then anyone, like I said before, can claim a free a lot of money outfit, which I'm really excited about. And I would love to do like a total like flash mob one day of everyone dressing in their a lot of money outfits. It would just be so cool to do that even at a web meetup. That'd be unreal. But that will be claimable for anyone. So even if a drifter's pack is not something you can buy into at the moment, show up on reveal day so that you can claim any of the stuff that you're eligible for, or at least the a lot of money outfit. And I don't know if we fully named everyone before, but the artists that will be showing up in the boxes as well. Brian Brinkman, Coldy, Osinachi, Joy, Skrilla, Bananakin, Xcopy, Dutch Tide, and then myself. I have a few like Josie sort of like specific crypto vibe pieces. So I'm super excited. Thanks for letting me drop all those details. Please follow us on our Drifters Twitter, because that's where like all of the information is just clean versus our Cyberbrokers Twitter, where we're tweeting about a few different things within our IP. So the Drifters Twitter would be the place to follow. And yeah, that's everything. That was a mouthful, but that's everything.
Boom. Yeah, we somehow managed to capture everything, I think. The project, the team behind it, and also managed to do a little bit of catch up in between. So that was amazing. I think we've covered everything. Just
So.
double check, last sanity check, Josie. Is there anything else that we missed that we want to dive into that we need to let the people know about?
No, I think this was awesome. This is perfect. Stay tuned. Come hang with us. I can't wait to deck ourselves out in the next whip. No, that was perfect. Thank you guys so much for taking the time.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of money flash mob at the whip is programmed in. Just a matter of when. We're probably going to do it like every week anyway at some point. Like
I love
just
that.
such an epic hat tip. I love that. That's sort of like the entry point for anyone. So that's beautiful. So Josie, thank you so much for everything that you continue to do for the space and build all the inspiration that you're pumping out into the metaverse. Super excited for Drifters. And once again, thank you for joining us here on Mars.
Thanks, guys. Can't wait.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Josie.
Boom. Let me stop recording. But Josie, that was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great.
Guys, that was so fun to chat with you.